lighting. Maybe I'll move up a little bit. This is bad lighting, but I wanted to. I'm trying to do more live streams, and I think people know that. And I usually do it on Tuesday, which is today, but it's been a really, really busy day. So I wanted to share my day with you all. And then if there are questions, I'm happy to take them. But I just kind of wanted to give you a slice of my life. So right now I am sitting in the car at my son's soccer practice. He practices from 8 to 9:30 every night at a place that is 50 minutes away from me. So we do a lot of driving together. We do a lot of podcast listening. We listen to the daily on the way here, the daily New York Times daily podcast on the manhunt for Luigi Mangiano, Italian last name, the guy who they think shot the United Healthcare executive. So that was cool because he's 15, my son, and he doesn't get super into that stuff, and he was following it, and that was good. So first of all, thanks. I want to try to do a little bit more of this stuff that's maybe a little less formal. I'm going to continue to do it on Fridays. When my schedule allows, I will do it on Tuesday from the normal location with better lighting and better sound and all that stuff. But you know what? I thought, like, I've got 45 minutes. I got a half hour right now. Why don't I just chat, take some questions, and talk? So let me just, a couple people. Zook says, happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday to you. Felix Bannon says, hey, Chris. So keep your questions coming and I'll go through them. I want to talk about what I did today, because I actually think it'll make you feel better about politics. So I had covered Jim Clyburn for a while. He's a member of Congress from South Carolina, African-American. He's 84 years old. He had been in the House leadership for a very long time. He was the number 3 ranking, Republican leader, Democratic leader, excuse me. And so I'd covered him for a long time, but I didn't really know him per se all that well. So today I do this series for Monumental Sports Entertainment, which is they own the Washington Capitals and the Washington Wizards, the NHL team and the NBA team, and they have their own network. It's the regional sports network here in the DC area. And so I'm doing this show called Politics Aside with Chris Cillizza. Great name, right? Because it's got my name right in there. And what the whole show is that I talk to politicians and politically sort of adjacent people about sports, the sports they played, the sports they liked, how sports shaped their lives. And Jim Clyburn, and I didn't know this, Jim Clyburn's a really big golfer. And I spent an hour interviewing him on camera about golf. This is a guy who grew up in the segregated South. There was one course near him. It was a blacks only course that he could play at. There were whites only courses he couldn't play at. And this is a guy who's seen the world change through golf. So it's it was just really, really cool. And then we finished it off by putting. We putted out in the office building on the hill where his office is. We got like one of those mats and putted. So if you want to, you can see pictures of it. If you follow me on Instagram, it's on Instagram, Cillizza, Cillizzac. I put some up there. And then on X, or Twitter or whatever, it's just at Chris Cillizza. All right, so let's get to some questions. And by the way, I don't know. I wanted to sort of share that Clyburn thing because it was really heartening. He was terrific. He was thoughtful, and he talked about how golf. He said if you play a round of golf with someone, you can really know that person. I just thought it was a great interview. It will run in a later episode, probably a couple weeks from now. But it was really great, and I'm going to try to share some of the clips so that people can see them. Anyway, all right. You got questions? Let me get to a few of them here. Let me scroll here. Phil Reinhart. Any advice for those of us who were really hurt, upset, and angry by what happened a month ago? Wait and see, I guess. So you're talking about the election, Phil. Look, a lot of people tell me, sorry, I'm trying to get in better light. A lot of people tell me, don't normalize Trump. And to which I say, like, he got 77 million votes. He won the popular vote. I know he didn't win the majority of the popular vote, but he won a plurality of the popular vote. He won all 7 battleground states. He won with 312 electoral votes, which is more than Joe Biden got in 2020 or than Donald Trump got in 2016. So, like, I feel like a lot of people have sort of said, like, this is what we want. I don't know if that's making him normal, but it is telling, I think, the country, we know what we're getting. I mean, remember, when it comes to Trump, right, there can be no question in this election that people knew what they were voting for. He didn't hide the ball, and he had been president, right? So in 2016, you might have said, like, I kind of want an outsider, and we've gone Bush, Clinton, Bush. I don't really want to go back to Hillary Clinton. I get all that, but this time, 8 years on, he'd been president. He had run for president again. You knew what you were getting. So I feel like that's what people wanted, Phil. At least, enough people in the right states. What can make you feel better? I would say I think the fact that the Senate Republicans got rid of Matt Gaetz in 8 days, basically saying, like, we're not going to appoint him. I think there's some advise and consent there that should encourage people. I would return to my Clyburn thing that I started with, which is, like, there are a lot of people. He was talking about how he played golf with Lindsey Graham all the time. There are a lot of people, I think, who are doing this for the right reasons. They find some common ground that they can work together on. They're not going to agree on everything, but they find some common ground where they can work together on, and they do it. I don't know. I find that inspiring. It doesn't change the fact, I know, Phil, you're unhappy that Donald Trump is going to be president. I get that. But I do think there are stories I'm trying to bring out too, stories of politicians and elected officials who it's not just all partisanship and nastiness and ugliness. So anyway, that's what I'm trying to do. Keep your questions coming. I'll try to answer as many as I can here. Whiskey Eyes. Question: is it fair to compare people who don't like healthcare applauding murder to hating bullying and cheering on the Columbine shooter? Man, so I mentioned for people who are just joining, and if you are just joining, thank you. Do me a favor, just thumbs up this for the algorithm. That reaction is hard for me. Like, I was thinking this on the drive out here as I was listening to the Daily on this shooting. I grew up in the 80s in Connecticut. And in the 80s in Connecticut, there was a guy named Bernard Goetz. He was known as the subway vigilante. He shot several black men, unarmed black men. And there was, like, an element of people. I remember this is obviously before social media, but there was if you remember it, let me know. It was a huge deal, at least where I grew up. There was some element of people who celebrated him, like, the subways are too dangerous, and this guy was just acting because the police wouldn't act. And, like, I remember that so distinctly, and it made me think of this too, because this does seem to me to be an act of vigilantism, which is essentially saying, like, these guys are corrupt. This guy's company denies, 30% of all claims. Everybody's got a horror story about the healthcare industry. And so, you know what? I'm not, these are what people, this is not me saying it. This is what sort of the online crowd said. I'm not happy that someone murdered him, but, like, these people had it coming or something. Dude, I just think that's a terrible way to live. Like, we can't condone murder. I'm not suggesting the healthcare industry in this country is great. I'm not suggesting that healthcare executives in the country don't get rich. They probably say we need to deny more claims so that we're not paying out as much. Like, I'm not defending it. It's just that's not that we can't have that be what we resort to, right? Like, it's like you can't just shoot guys in the subway because you feel unsafe and they were black. Like, it's the Bernard Goetz thing to me all over again. Like, vigilantism or the bullying thing. Look, I was, just as a sidebar, I've talked a little bit about this, but I was bullied really badly in 9th and 10th grade, really badly. I wound up switching schools because of it. I hate bullies. I hate it. I have talked to my boys over and over again. I said, I don't want you to be bullied, and if you are, you need to tell me immediately. But you know what's even worse? I don't want you to be a bully, because I know what that's like. I went to school every day with a pit in my stomach of fear and anxiety about this kid. Still remember his name. Not going to say it, but still remember his name. And so I hate it. But the right response to being bullied is not going into Columbine and shooting a bunch of people. Like, that seems to me to be, that's a two wrongs don't make a right situation, right? You can say the healthcare industry is broken, these guys and gals shouldn't make as much money, they're denying too many claims, and also say, I don't think we should murder those people because that first thing I said is true. Anyway, thanks for the question, Whiskey Ice. It's a good one. Brett Green, do you think the country is on a rightward shift? Good question, Brett. Like, Republicans are going to, in January, control the White House, the Senate, and the House. Now, the House, they're controlling it by a teeny margin, but still, they're going to control the White House, the Senate, and the House. I don't know if that's a rightward lean. I do think what we are in is a moment in which the people, voters, are not super thrilled with whoever they put in power. So whoever they put in, Republican or Democrat, whoever they put in, they're like, this isn't great. And so, and so they vote the other guy in. Like, think about it. 2016, Barack Obama's anointed successor, Hillary Clinton, loses to Donald Trump. 2020, Donald Trump, first term incumbent, loses to Joe Biden. 2024, Joe Biden is pushed out of the race. His preferred choice, Kamala Harris, loses to Donald Trump, like back and forth. So I think it's more incumbency than it is a rightward shift. I guess we'll see in 2026, honestly, maybe 2025. Look, if Republicans win the New Jersey governor's race. Okay, New Jersey was a 6-point state in 2024. Trump lost by 6. Way closer. It was a 16-point race in 2020 when Biden won. If Republicans win New Jersey, then I think we should start talking about, like, is there something really going on in New Jersey or more nationally in terms of people favoring Republicans? Until then, I guess I'm a little skeptical. D. Wiggins 1005. Is Laura Trump going to get the Florida Senate seat? Why or why not? Woo! That is a great question, my friend. She wants it. You know, she stepped down as co-chair of the RNC, which she did not have to do, because I think she wants to be positioned to be the next senator. So it all comes down to Ron DeSantis, right? It's not complicated. DeSantis DeSantis makes the appointment, and whoever he appoints runs in 2026 again. So the question is like, what does Ron DeSantis want? Right now, Pete Hegseth looks stronger than he has in terms of the Secretary of Defense thing. So if DeSantis is Trump's second choice for Secretary of Defense, it may look like he might not get to that second choice because Hegseth looks better this week than he did last week. But DeSantis probably also wants to get in good with Trump and Trump world for the future. Because Ron DeSantis is term limited out in 2026 for governor, so he's got to figure out something else to do, like run for president. So maybe he does Trump a solid and puts Laura Trump in there. I mean, she's not from the state. Not that is determinative. Hillary Clinton wasn't from New York, and she was a senator from New York. But Laura Trump, I heard her say this is like a week ago. She said, I mean, it would just be so exciting to have the opportunity to represent my home state. And I was like, Florida is not your home state. Like, whatever you think of her, she's from Wilmington, North Carolina. Like, she thought about running for Senate in North Carolina in 2022 because that's where she's from. So it's not her home state. Not a huge deal. Like, yeah, I can get over that. But I did think that was kind of funny. So, yeah, I think she has a real chance, to be totally honest. Like, depend how hard is Donald Trump going to lean on DeSantis? And then you got Rick Scott, who's the other senator from Florida, has already said DeSantis should pick Laura Trump. Katie Britt from Alabama has said it. Elon Musk from parts unknown has said it. May Musk, mom of Elon Musk, has said it. So, like, I can see it. Hold on, I'm scrolling through. Pocket Watch, thank you for the donation, and thank you for watching. I always say to people, if you want to donate in the super chat, do it. I'll read your question first, but if you don't, not a big deal. But I always appreciate any donation is appreciated. I'm really trying to build this YouTube community, and I think one of the best ways is just to see me, just kind of living my life and sharing my experiences. And so this is that. It's a little different, but I thought it would be worth trying something different. All right, I'm scrolling through more questions. Sorry. Mr. Jewel, how can a fairly recent grad really get a good start in political journalism? Okay, so, oh man, hold on. They just turned out the lights in I'm going to go a little closer. There was a soccer field right here that had lights on. and they just turned them off. So now it's even less light. So hold on, let me see if I can get. All right, so I'm now holding this. I actually think that right now is not a bad time to be in political journalism if you're young. If you're young, because you're probably not going to make a huge amount of money if you're young. Sorry if that's breaking news, but you're probably not going to make a huge amount of money if you're young in journalism. You may not make a lot of money if you're old in journalism, but there's a bunch of jobs out there. I mean, the issue is not entry-level jobs in journalism. Those jobs exist. The issue is when you stay in it, like I did in mainstream media for as long as I did, you kind of price yourself out. Like there's just not enough jobs and they can't afford to pay you. So I think if you want to be in DC, Axios, Politico, New York Times, NBC, CBS, CNN, they all have internship programs. That's a great way to get in. Or a lot of places are hiring, to be totally honest. So I would do that. If you want to go the independent route, start a YouTube channel. It costs $0.00 to start a YouTube channel. I know because I did it. So I think that's another way that you can go. Start a Substack. I always remind people I have a Substack newsletter, chriscillizza.substack.com. 80% of the content's free, but 20% you got to pay for. People do pay at times. It's wonderful. So everyone who makes a donation here or over there, eternally grateful. Excuse me. Michael Gates. Hey, Chris, it's great to see you more often. I'm trying. Do you think that Hegseth's luck turned around? I do a little bit, Michael. So he kind of went on offense, right? I think he was kind of sitting back for a while, and then I think he realized that wasn't working. So I think he went on offense a little bit more and sort of was more aggressive and pushing back on some of the stories that were out there, really trying to pressure Trump and the people around Trump to publicly support him, which they did. Both Trump and J.D. Vance came out last weekend and said, we're for him and he's doing great. So I think he's doing much better now. Yesterday was a big day for J.D. Vance because he met with Joni Ernst for the second time, the senator from Iowa. And Joni Ernst, who is a military veteran and, more importantly, as it relates to Hegseth, a sexual assault survivor, because Hegseth's past with women is not great, alleged. She came out and she didn't endorse him, but she also didn't say she wasn't going to endorse him. She said, as I support Pete through this process or something. And for Pete Hegseth, that's all he really needs. Like he kind of, if he can get Ernst, he'll get confirmed, because Ernst will give cover for a lot of Republican senators, including a lot of female Republican senators, Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, to say, if he was good enough for her, then he's good enough for me. Like, I'm going to support him if she is. So I actually think that's why I think you've seen his odds improve of late, for that reason. All right, I'm going to keep going. Sherry Zimmerman. Hey, Sherry. Hey, Chris, this is fun. How was basketball practice for your middle school son as the coach? So we played for people who don't know, I am coaching my 7th grade son's rec basketball team. We played on Sunday. It was our first game. We lost 40-36, which was actually not bad because we were losing 18-3 in the first quarter, and we made a wicked comeback. It was fun. Trying to keep it cool. Let's see. Tobago Turtle. Here, have you ever seen the Twitter account Bad Electoral Takes? I think I have, and I think I've been featured on it before. David Flores. Let's see. If you could compare any pro wrestling's Atlantics, do you mean alliance to politicians? David, just clarify. Obviously, I will answer any pro wrestling and politics question. Lucchese 20. Good eve, Chris. What are the celebratory plans for reaching 50,000 subscribers? I don't know. So when I got to 40,000 subscribers, I made a video on 40 fun facts about the presidents. I don't want to do 50 fun facts about the presidents because that feels too repetitive. But if you have an idea, put it in the chat. I'd love to hear it. Let's see. John. Chris, do you think that Trump is a risk to our collective safety in the world? I am genuinely scared. I don't know, to be candid. I don't know enough about national security to know that. I know there's a whole infrastructure that surrounds him, but he is the president. He's the final sort of shot caller in all of this. I know that. So I don't know if I could say that. I think Donald Trump is a hugely disruptive force to the alliances and world order that has stood since World War II? Yes, absolutely. I think that. I don't know if that means he's, if he's a risk to our collective safety, John. Eric Wood, Mangione reminds me of Raskolnikov, but no one praised Raskolnikov. Well said. Dwight Baldwin said, I remember Bernie Getz. Yes. Melanie, he could have used his brain to advocate about change in the healthcare sector. That's my point, Melanie. Like, we can't celebrate murder. Like, I'm not suggesting that the healthcare industry is good and that these healthcare executives don't either knowingly or not knowingly, but it still counts, sort of, urge their people to reject claims. You just can't kill someone for that. Exactly what you said. There's lots and lots of ways to work to make a better system than that. Jorge Simon. Hey, Chris, beyond deportations and tax cuts, what policies do you estimate the second Trump administration will be known for? Great question. I think those are the two big ones. Those are the ones I would say. The other thing I would say is, again, this is dependent, but how many justices he appoints. Obviously, he's going to appoint a ton of federal judges below the Supreme Court level. Does he get to appoint another Supreme Court justice? Another 2 Supreme Court justices? Well, if he does 2, he's appointed the majority of Supreme Court justices. So that would obviously be a huge legacy. I also think he'll be known for sort of fundamentally reshaping the Republican Party from one built around lower government and less taxes and smaller government to one built and low deficits to one built on sort of populism, anti-elitism, and by the way, for kind of suspending the rules of engagement when it comes to politics, like how you behave in politics. Side King. Canada tariff, problem at the border or the lax entry rules at the entry port? Look, I don't think that tariff threat is going to come due. I think Justin Trudeau and Trump are going to figure out a way. I think right now he's using the tariff threats as negotiating tactics. Like, I think he looks at it, and he's not president for another, 6 weeks or whatever. And I think he says, like, well, I'm going to do this now, and then I'll get them at the table and like foreshadow what I'm going to actually do without having the negative effects of a tariff. That's sort of where I'm at. Little Quail, if Trump's tariffs raise grocery prices, do you think he can get away with trying to blame the previous administration? Well, certainly try. I'm still skeptical we're going to get these wide-scale tariffs. I don't see it. Like, if you look at him in his first term, yes, he did impose tariffs on China, but they were much more targeted. They were not like sweeping 15 or 20 or 25%. So I still think it's a negotiating tactic. I could be wrong, certainly, but that's sort of my story right now. Brian Bites, just look at the UK. They voted outright this year. Yes, good call. MSU fan. You had mentioned before that you were planning on voting but got busy and didn't end up doing it. Who were you planning on voting for? I'm not going to share it, and I'm disappointed in myself about not voting. I'm not going to share it, but thanks for asking and good try. Melanie, we appreciate the live streams. I always enjoy watching them. Thanks, Melanie. And by the way, for people who are on, thank you for your persistence. I know that this is not the ideal setting, but I was here. The lighting is terrible. The sound is probably terrible. But I was here, and I thought, if I could talk to a few people, answer some questions, it'd be worth it. So that's what I'm doing. Dwight Baldwin, will Biden hold a press conference before he leaves? Ooh, that's a good question, Dwight. I don't know. He should. I think he should. I don't know that he will. I think that Biden needs to show people if he wants to end on something other than his it's raining. Can you hear it? It's raining on my son. Ugh. If he wants to show something for people other than the pardon, I think he should hold a press conference. But he's done almost no press lately, so maybe he won't. But I think he should. Tim G, for everything Trump has spoken about, what would you personally like to see Trump pass that you think would be a good thing? Pass. Look, I think there's something to be said for trying to figure out a smarter and better way to police our border. And Like I do think that there are holes there. I don't know if it would be him passing something. I don't think it would be as draconian as some of the stuff that's been proposed, but I think it's certainly worth addressing. Bill Reeve, why do so many voters seem to have ignored the events of January 6th? The voters of both parties don't seem to care about the character of the president anymore. I don't know. They absolutely, January 6th was not an issue that moved swing voters. Why? I don't totally know. I think because they just sort of wanted it was an ugly moment and they wanted it in the past, kind of like COVID. Like Donald Trump's handling of COVID, whatever you think of Donald Trump, was not great. Although I will say the getting the vaccine as fast as they did is worth praise, but his handling of COVID and masking and all that stuff was not great. And him saying it's going to go away, it's never going to come here, et cetera, et cetera. But people just don't, I think they didn't want to think about it anymore. I think it was a bad time in their lives and they didn't want to think about it anymore. Hold on, let me, David, David Flores. Oh, David, that's so nice. You didn't have to donate more money, but thank you. It's very much appreciated. You meant to compare wrestlers to politicians. So let me give up because I don't want to like pop off too much. But let's see who's who. I don't know, David. I don't know yet. Can I get back to you? I want to write something about this because I do think there's a lot of parallels. Let me just say, for people who haven't heard this, I really do believe that professional wrestling is the best lens through which to understand Donald Trump. Like the good guys and the bad guys, the outlandish storylines, all that stuff, to me is it's all in there. If you have not watched the Netflix, I think it's Netflix documentary on Vince McMahon, I think it's called Mr. McMahon, or read the book about Vince McMahon, the biography that was written of him last 2 years, there's so much in there. I think Trump learned from Vince McMahon, who's the head of WWE, if you don't know that. I just think there's a ton there. And I need to, one of the things I'm going to do with my Substack is I'm going to talk more about that, about wrestling and Trump and just wrestling in general, but wrestling and Trump. So anyway, David, thank you for the clarification. I promise I will get back to you. Let me think on it a little bit. Either hit me up on this live stream on Friday or send me an email. By the way, people, you can always email me if you have questions you don't want to ask on here. Cillizzac@gmail.com. It'll come right to me. That's CILLIZZAC@gmail.com. All right. Let's see. Brett Green says I could do an extra long live stream for 50K. I could, but I think after a while people are like, nah. Low Robot. John, the thing is, Bob Dole was old as hell in 1996 and he got the nomination. Yes, he did. AV Polar. Back to Hegseth. How can someone with such limited management experience be expected to helm the Department of Defense? Why isn't that the central reason the Senate isn't pushing back on his nomination? Because, like, I'm not disagreeing with you, but the reason is because Donald Trump ran expressly on the idea that all of these people, Democrats, Republicans in Washington, don't know what the hell they're doing. That the whole structure was rotten and broken, and they were responsible for the debacle in Afghanistan, his words, and a lot of the war in Iraq, weapons of mass destruction. So to me, it makes some sense that he would pick someone like Hegseth because Hegseth is outside of that. He's not a four-star general. He's not a lifetime military guy. Yes, he served, but he's not General Mattis or Mark Milley. He's not one of these like high-end, sort of like widely decorated generals. So while I think you can dispute whether Hegseth has the right experience, I mean, I think that's I think it makes sense given who Trump is, what he said about the military and the campaign, and the kind of people he likes. I hope that makes sense. James H., do 50 fun state facts for 50K. That's great. Michael Gates, how about 50 fun facts about 50 states? I got a lot of fun facts about states. I used to know every state nickname: Land of Enchantment, New Mexico, Beehive State, Utah. That's a fun one. Why is Utah the Beehive State? Great question that I don't know the answer to. Martin, Chris, did you get in trouble and your wife suggested you not come home tonight? No, that is not what happened. I'm at soccer practice. I'm not practicing, as you might have guessed. My son is. And it's dark and rainy, and I don't want to stand out there. And I thought
I usually am trying to do 2 live streams a week, and I hadn't done one today. So I was like, why don't I do it? So here we are. Mr. Jewel, I really don't care the setting. I just like your take on things. That's awesome. So good to hear. I like my take on things too. Whiskey Eyes, why are reasonable people like you rare on TV? You call when R's and D's are dumb. Why are people so team red or blue on TV? I'm a MAGA Republican who is a huge fan of yours because you're even-handed. Yeah, well, first of all, thank you. Good to hear. Here's the problem. TV likes predictable. They like to know what you're going to say, right? So it's like Scott Jennings is going to support Trump and Joy Reid, I know these are different networks, but Joy Reid is going to oppose Trump. Doesn't matter what context any of these things are in. By the way, I know and like Scott Jennings. I don't know Joy Reid, so I pass no judgment on her. They're just 2 people I pluck from the air. For me, I don't care to watch that because I already know what they're going to say. I think the same thing about these YouTube channels that are just like, Donald Trump is the worst. Well, I mean, I guess, but how many times can you say that? Like, whether you think he's the worst or not, or the best or not, like, I'm not going to make a video every day that's like, Donald Trump is the best. Because what the hell is the point in that? What are you or me learning from that? So I don't get it. And I think, by the way, I think that's one of the reasons that YouTube is growing, and I'm hoping channels like mine continue to grow while cable TV is kind of, in a fade. But thank you. That's really nice. I mean, my view is like, look, I try to call balls and strikes. I don't always get it right. Like, there's no guarantee I get it right, but I'm trying my hardest to be even-handed, and I hope people can appreciate that. Let me do a few more questions. Phil Reinhart, the sound is great. Did you get the new mic? So this is the car sound, but I did get a new mic, and I'm going to try to use it, I think, in the Friday live stream. It's a Rode. Tanner Wilson, are you going to watch and follow the European World Cup qualifying draw on Friday? Curious which European teams you want to see in person at the 2026 World Cup. So, Tanner, thanks for the question. Definitely France. I want to see Belgium, England. Who else? Maybe Croatia. I don't know if Luka Modric is still playing. But those are the big 4 that jump to mind. Whiskey Eyes, love the channel, and I've told people to sub to you, by the way. Thank you, Whiskey. I appreciate you. Nils Linden Blad, excuse me. Will Biden go to Trump's inauguration, and does Trump want him there? I think he is. I think Biden has said he will go. I don't know whether Trump wants him there or not, but I think Biden will. I think he said will go. Does not equal. Good morning from Tokyo. Got 2 errors before YouTube allowed me to watch this. Well, 3rd time's the charm, my friend. Good morning from Tokyo. Look, here's what it looks like out my window. It is nighttime in Virginia. Let's see. Does not equal said, regardless, it's good to catch a live stream since your Friday one is well after I've gone to bed in Japanese Standard Time. Totally. That's why I'm trying to do these things a little different. So normally, just so you know, normally on Tuesdays, I'm going to try to do 5 or 6 p.m. I just couldn't today because I was running around like crazy. I thought that, anyway. Thomas Moriello. Hello, my friend. Let's see. What are your thoughts on term limits for the Supreme Court? So I really like the bill that Peter Welch and Joe Manchin put forward in the Senate. I don't know if you've checked it out, but I think there's real value in it. It basically says, like, once every 2 years, a justice is termed out. I think they can serve 18 years. I don't know how you do it, but look at that proposal. I don't know if it would pass, but it is, at least to me, kind of intriguing. Let me see if there's anybody else. Let's see. Hey, Thomas, thank you for subscribing, dude. I appreciate you very much. Tanner Wilson, Luka Modric is still playing, but he hasn't looked great lately. I mean, he's like 39. Surprised he hasn't announced his retirement yet. Yeah, because also most of the time those like top end players retire from international competition, and then they'll still play club for a while because they can still make a ton of money playing club. But yeah, okay, interesting that he'll keep playing. Gabriel Conde, I know you're talking about golf in the beginning of the live. Do you play? And if you do, what's your handicap? So yeah, I was talking about playing golf. Talking golf with Jim Clyburn, the Democratic member of Congress from South Carolina. It was a great conversation. I'm going to see if I can pluck a few little bits of it and post it on Instagram. And if you don't follow me on Instagram, please do, Cillizza C. If you don't follow me on X, do Chris Cillizza. You follow me here, great. I'll try to put it in all those places. So when I was a kid, 15. First of all, I was not a country club kid. We did not belong to a country club. But there was a club that I could play at that was about 15 minutes from my house. So by the time I was like 14, I was like I wasn't caddying, but I was like hanging out there and playing pretty consistently. By the time I was like 17 or 18, I was probably like a 12 or 13, no, probably a 15 handicap, but I could hit it around, knock it around. Now, I play so infrequently. I'm probably like I probably would, if I played a normal course, no mulligans, count every shot, I'd honestly probably shoot 110. I know, it's depressing. Brett Green, let me just do a few more, folks. If you have a question, now is the time, because I'm about to sign off and go watch my son play soccer, but I will stick if there are a few more questions. Brett Green, what are the odds Gavin Newsom runs for president? 100%. No, I'm exaggerating a little, but I think it's very, very, very likely that Newsom runs for president. He's 57, 57, 58. I think he's 57. This would be right in the prime. He'll be 61 in 2028. I do think he will run again. And by the way, I'll make one point that secretly happiest person when Kamala Harris lost was Gavin Newsom. Because think about it. If Kamala Harris had won, she would obviously run in 2028 for a second term. And if she won that, even if she didn't, right, the Democratic nomination wouldn't be open until 2032, at which point, so that's 8 years from now, Gavin Newsom is, he's 65. He's still got some time, but he's older. And is there any chance that if the country elects and then reelects a California Democrat with San Francisco roots, that in 2032, when the seat is open again, they're going to be like, you know what we need? A California Democrat with San Francisco roots. No chance, right? So in order for Newsom to run for president, he needed Kamala Harris to lose. Yeah. So, Carlos Martinez says he's 57. Okay. That's great. Brian Riley, are you excited about Matt Gaetz' show on One America News Network? I'm neither excited nor unexcited. I'm not surprised at all. Oh, gosh. Whiskey Eyes. Yes. It's funny. I brought up, so Whiskey Eyes is mentioning the exchange about golf between Trump and Biden in the June 27th debate. Like, if you carry your bag, I'll play with you. So stupid on both parts. Two old men arguing about golf. I'm not going to say what it reminds me of, but it's a something measuring contest that we do not need. Let's see. Just try to get a couple others. Mad Max 42. What if AOC runs for the Senate in the next election? So if she did and Chuck Schumer ran, she'd have to primary Chuck Schumer. I don't see that happening. I think she might run for president in 2028, though. Keep an eye on that. Did I make a video? No. Chuck Todd from NBC News and I talked about it yesterday on my Substack, so you can go check that out if you want. We had a long conversation and she was part of that conversation. So, But we both said she's a voice, I think, to watch and someone who could be relevant in 2028 in the presidential race. Rachel S. Will YouTube channels eventually go the cable news route and only defend their team? I see this with Dave Rubin, Tim Pool, Megyn Kelly, who started moderate and are full right wing now. I mean, so the problem is, Rachel, and this is true of Substack and every independent content thing, the way that you make the most money, which means get the most people to subscribe to your channel on YouTube, or for Substack, get the most people to pay to subscribe to your channel, is you just go hard right or hard left. It's just the model that works. People like to be told that they're right. They like to have their views affirmed. Even though people say, like, I want an independent voice. I want someone who calls balls and strikes. I will tell you, I've built this to 50,000. I've built my Substack to 24,000 subscribers. But man, it's been a slog, and it's been hard because it would be much easier if I just came on every day and I was like, you know who's the worst? Donald Trump. Am I right? Or you know who's the best president we've ever had? Donald Trump or Joe Biden, whatever. Point is, if I was predictably partisan, you'd make more money, and those people are making a ton of money. But like, that's just not me. Right? You got to do you. I always tell my kids, make sure you stay authentic to yourself. You got to be authentic to yourself. And so I want to follow that advice and be authentic to myself. And my authentic reality is I've been a reporter for these big organizations for 25, 30 years. And I don't look at things through it's good because it's Donald Trump or it's bad because it's Donald Trump. It's bad because it's Democrats or it's good because it's Democrats. I just look at it and try to make calls. They're not always a right call, but yeah. Jack Redview says, LMFAO, AOC president, what a joke. That's a lot of acronyms in there, but I take your point. Does not equal. Arnold Palmer won those measuring contests every single time or so I've heard. Yes, indeed. It was between him and Milton Berle, my friend. Big JK444. I subscribed to your TikTok when you maybe had 20 followers. How do you see that app for news in the future, especially with the ban? How do you view that very short form of content? Also YouTube shorts. So I'm more YouTube guy, so I do more YouTube shorts. I'm trying to post on TikTok because I know it's a big deal. The ban is like, I did not think the ban would ever happen. Now I think the ban is maybe a little bit more likely to happen, to be honest, because of the judge sort of cleared the way for it. For me, it's hard to be on every service. It's hard to be like active on X, active on Instagram, active on YouTube, active on Substack, active on Blue Sky, active on TikTok, right? Like this is like only so much time. Like this is me. Like my team, you're looking at it. It's just me with a little help from my wife, but mostly just me. So it's like I can't do everything. So I think shorts can be useful. Yes, I think they can offer for politics at least. Yeah, offer a really quick take on something. But like, I also think there's room for longer form too. I actually want to do longer form with some of my YouTube videos, like 30, 40 minutes that aren't live streams, but where I'm like talking to somebody or doing an interview. So I'm going to try and do more of that stuff too. Tim G, couple more. Tim G, do you think the Trump-Musk relationship is anything more than transactional? How do you think Vance feels about it? Man, I think that, I think it's like two piranhas in a bowl. They both think they're the smartest person in the world. Elon may be right. I just don't see how they coexist for that long. No, Donald Trump does not like when anyone takes his shine. It's just not a thing he's going to do. It's the nobody puts baby in a corner presidency, right? So like, I can't imagine that he and Elon are going to stay super tight forever. It just seems to me destined to blow up at some point. And I would guess JD Vance is just biding his time. Let's see. C. Romero. Hey, Chris, I know I've mentioned this before, but with Trump announcing he's willing to deport citizens, how do you see it playing out for actual naturalized citizens? So I don't see... Carlos, I don't see him saying he wants to deport citizens yet. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think their focus is going to be on people who are here illegally who have committed crimes. That to me is people they're going to try and get out and maybe successful in getting out. Beyond that, I don't really know. Carlos Martinez, your son was born in 2009. He was. David Johnson, please don't go ultra left or right. You are great where you are. Yeah, man, I'm not going to do it. Like, it's just not me. I'd make more money. Trust me, I would make more money. I have seen people I know make more money by going hard left or hard right, but it's just not me. Like, I can't do it. Let's see. AV Polar, with regard to being active on multiple apps, there's ways to cross-post. You'll need to TaskRabbit it out. Yeah, I guess I should just create one piece of content and farm it out. I need to do better about that. I've not done that in the past. Balaji Alagarajan, I hope I said that right. Do you think Trump will fire the FBI director again to appoint Kash Patel? I do. Yeah, I do. I guess I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. Rachel, thank you for the donation, and I'm always happy to answer. Brian Riley, I'm very interested in what new media show up for press briefings. Me too. I am fascinated. My friend Gabe Fleischer, who's on Substack, young guy, he's like 22, just got credentialed by the House and Senate, the Congressional Press Gallery. I think that's a good sign, right? We need to recognize that mainstream media does a good job covering news, fine, but like other independent outlets can do it too. Like I'm counting myself in there, but yes, I do too. D. Wiggins 11005. Are you going to the inauguration of any of the parties? Should journalists play in those events? I've never gone to them. I don't think you should, and I'm not invited anyway, but no, I will not be going. Let's see. Let me just make sure I'm not missing anybody. Yeah, does not equal. With Trump in office, I think the TikTok ban will be tougher, right? So remember, Donald Trump has said on the campaign, he reversed his position. First, he said, yes, the TikTok ban should happen. Then he said, we're not going to do the TikTok ban. So yes, I agree. So maybe I should get more on TikTok. That's a really good point. Let's see. Big JK444. One thing that's not... Sorry. Do you have the sound now? My wife was calling me. Can you hear me now? Okay, sorry. My wife was calling me, and that's why it was muted. Sorry. What I was saying is I think that's a really good question about 2032 and what the map looks like. What states are going to be competitive then and what states aren't? I'm going to do a video on that, actually. That's a great idea. I'm going to do a video on that. So, all right. We're 45 minutes exactly on the dot. Let me stop there. For everyone who's with me and stuck with me, thank you. Now I know that if my phone rings, it mutes the screen. And no, my wife is not watching AV Polar, never. Thank you all. I'm going to keep trying to do these things. Thank you for your support. If you are not a subscriber to the channel, please become one. If you want to check out more of my content, chriscillizza.substack.com. Cillizza is my last name. chriscillizza.substack.com. Go over there. A bunch of content's free. Some of it costs, but check it out. Polar rhymes with dollar. AV Polar. Okay, now I got it. All right, everybody. I got to roll. Everybody take care. I'll be back with a video tomorrow on this channel. And I'll be back with a live stream on Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern. I always do 1 p.m. Eastern on Friday, so I will be back then. All right, everyone. Take care of yourselves. Be well and be kind to each other.